Hey, I was just thinking there's no way that you could give someone's whole life story or transition out of a religion justice with just 10 minutes. So I thought, how about I take 10 minutes today and share my whole life story and, share why I transitioned out of my religion in Mormonism. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to this channel and like. And if you're an ex-Mormon, please comment why you chose to leave the church. And if you're a Mormon who's upset about me making this video, please feel free to gaslight me in the comments below and tell me where I went astray. Okay, so first part of my story, I was raised in the church. The way I was raised, we were very, very devout. I went to church every single week, all throughout primary and in my youth. I fulfilled all my callings, did my home teaching, went to all the mutual activities, even got my Eagle Scout Award, graduated seminary. I pulled out all the stops and checked all the boxes. I was that guy that would go up on Fast and Testimony meeting every month to bear how I knew that this was the one true church. I was 18 when I graduated high school. It was just before the age change, so went up to live in Logan, Utah, to go to Utah State for a little bit, for about 3 years. I delayed going on my mission because as much as I felt like I knew all along, I was like, before I make that huge of a step, I gotta know, right? And I started to doubt some of my testimony a little bit. The reason that I doubted my testimony was that I had experiences that I felt like what confirmation was true all along the way in different instances, but there's never this sure, strong emotional experience like everyone often talks about. And I thought, well, do I need that? Does that happen to everyone? How do I know for sure? Do I know for sure? Then I had an experience where a missionary that I was doing splits with to help just looked me in the eyes and said, I know God is real and He loves you. And I just felt this really strong emotion in my body, I got choked up a little bit, and I was just like, this is God telling me that this is the one true church and that He loves me and He's there. All right, I'll go. I think I'm ready. So that was in the summer of 2014, so I went back to Logan while I finished my papers, and I soon left on my mission beginning of 2015. So I served my mission in Montevideo, Uruguay, learned Spanish there, was there from January through August. What had happened is in July while I was on my mission, there was this one day where I was riding my bike, and then a dog came up out of nowhere like they do in South America, and it startled me. I kicked my leg down to stop myself, and that's not a good idea when you're riding quickly on your bike. Tore my ACL. At the time I had no idea what was going on. I just knew it hurt a lot. My knee was swollen, it was painful. I walked around like Quasimodo all the time. So I told my mission president right away. It's not a third world country, but it took him 3 weeks to get me in to see a doctor for the first time. The doctor said, yeah, there's definitely something wrong here, and I'm not sure how bad it is. You need to get an MRI. So it wasn't convenient though for me to get an MRI and go back into the main city. So it took 3 more weeks before I could do that. When I finally went in for the MRI, it was established pretty quickly that my ACL was torn and I needed to go home for surgery. And it turns out once they have the results, within 2 or 3 days, right quick, they send you right home. So I took the next several months to heal as from complications from that surgery. At the time I had every intention of going back on my mission once I healed, but then in May of 2016, I met my beautiful wife, Emily Lynn. We just connected really quickly. We felt like it was the right thing to do, so we met in May 2016, we married in August 2016, and we ended up having our first son in May of 2017, about 9 months to the day later. That's pretty quick, even by Mormon standards. So things are going pretty good as far as the church goes. After that, in 2018, we got recruited into the group worldwide under the business Amway, and we were indoctrinated like that. I used to have this really negative perception about MLMs and how stupid someone has to be to get sucked into it, how naive they must be, but there were so many successful people there in all kinds of jobs, and they're so kind and well-intentioned, and so much reminded me of how they did things in my Mormon church growing up, and the way they acted and the way they taught things. What I later found out is that their practices hit almost every single box in Dr. Stephen Hassan's BITE model. In creating an extreme amount of undue influence on people, in brainwashing, mind control, undue influence, whatever you want to call it, where it creates an entrapment mentality where it's so hard to leave and where you get just so cemented in your beliefs so quickly. Anyways, so we were so sure that we'd become financially independent and get so much success out of it. 2 solid years later, thousands of hours of work, thousands of dollars spent. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Just like it doesn't work for like 99.95% of people who try it. But before we ended up quitting that, we actually, earlier this summer, I started thinking to myself, why have I never looked into any of the questions that I have about the church? You know, the shelf items, you're like, I don't understand that, but I'll just put it till later. And I just realized within myself, I have this perception that I can't research certain things about the church. That's not okay to do that. And I was just thinking, why would that not be okay? Why can't I apply critical thinking and learn some things and see what's actually true about any of the things that were concerning to me that I didn't understand about the church's doctrine or history? Believe it or not, when you look into the church history, just Google it. You'll find so much information so fast. So here's a quick list of some of the main things I had no idea about before I started researching it, or I heard somewhat about something, but intentionally just ignored it, or didn't as a lie or something, or never really looked into it because I thought I wasn't supposed to. Joseph Smith had 34 wives. A third of them were already married to other men. Several of his wives were underage, as young as 14. The Book of Abraham translation has actually been proven to just be Egyptian funerary text. There's tons of scientific evidence supporting how the Book of Mormon is not historical, and zero evidence supporting the idea that it's possible that the Book of Mormon could be historical. It's fiction. The church used to be really, really racist, and now they're just less racist. I don't know why I didn't care about this as much before, but the church is super homophobic. Less homophobic, but still homophobic. And not surprisingly, they're also super misogynistic. Oh yeah, and Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon with a rock and a hat. Not like this. Like this. Also, the church harms so many people with its teachings and its protections over sexual abusers and its, financial extortion and so much more that there's not enough time to get into everything today. So I was in the middle of questioning literally everything. Started talking to my wife about it. I was still in our business. And then I came across Stephen Hassan's bite model. I read through it, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized the MLM is totally a cult, and that's why we believe in it so hard, even though we're not making any money and wasting so much time. And I realized, wait a second, my church does all of these things too. Especially if you're a missionary, all those things become hardcore, intensely culty. I talked more with my wife about everything. She had a really hard time with it. I'll let her tell her story a different time, but she eventually agreed with me that this can't be the one true church. There's no way. It's a church, but not God's church. Not any loving God that I could ever believe in. And I think the most important, significant thing to me, besides all the other types of harm that the church does, is that they create this false premise that they know is false, this whitewashed, deceitful, wrong history, and they make this claim that they are the one true church. People don't join the Mormon church because they think, oh, it's a good place to be. Oh, it's a nice church to have, and I like having religion in my life. Oh, I just want to have a community. No. The premise for baptism for new members or for indoctrinated children is that this is the one true church, and you need to take this completely seriously, follow all of the commandments for tithing and every other commandment about your lifestyle, believe everything these brethren, the prophet and general authorities say, take the prophet's word, trust it, do what they say, base your whole life's decisions on it, and that will get you into VIP heaven. And creating this false narrative and lying along the way is just so sick to me that you would do that as an organization on purpose so that you could get more members withholding information, twisting information, lying completely about other pieces of information. Marriages get destroyed when a spouse goes through a faith crisis. There's so many other kinds of harm too. And so over the last few months, I decided, I want to start speaking up about this kind of stuff. I was super inspired by Mormon Stories podcast and by so many other resources. I can't list them all here. that really helped me through my faith transition in the healing process, and laughing at the pain and laughing through the trauma, in understanding things and helping my wife get on the same page as me. So many amazing resources that I appreciated and needed. And so I decided, I want to start speaking up. So I started a Facebook page and a TikTok channel called Dem Ephraim Boys. It's, like a play on words off of like tribe to be from. It's a Mormon thing. Don't worry about it too much. And then I thought, I want to have a channel on TikTok to talk about these kind of things and make jokes about these kind of things. So I started Daniel Down the Rabbit Hole on TikTok. And then Mormons sometimes comment on there. They're very ignorant about the issues usually. They're very like gaslighting how they talk, or validating, kind of the message of you should shut up and sit down and be quiet. And so sometimes I get in these arguments. TikTok has this character limit, so I have to separate it into multiple comments. Part 1, Part 2, Part 5, Part 8. Part 9. Anyways, it doesn't work out very well. So I thought, it'd probably be much better if I started a YouTube channel where I could go more into depth about the various issues with the church and speak up here too. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and make more videos like this to talk about the issues with the church in more detail. So feel free to follow me if you're interested, or scroll on by if you think this is all just like total blasphemy. Thanks, guys.